Attorney General Letitia James wants Judge Engoron to fine Trump at least $250 million and to ban him from doing business in his home state of New York. Analysts say that could effectively end the Trump empire.
Our enemies want to take away my freedom because I will never let them take away your freedom.
Well, is that true or false? Our next two guests have very different opinions about this. James Sample is a law professor at Hofstra University in New York, and Vinoo Varghese is a criminal defense attorney, former prosecutor, and a member of the Harvard Law School teaching faculty. Welcome to both of you. Vinoo, if I may start with you. Now, Trump says these criminal and civil cases are simply a political witch hunt. What is your view?
Well, to the extent that these cases have merits, timing is certainly raises eyebrows, to say the least, as to their propriety, as to whether they're valid and legitimate, because you have a man who is the leading Republican contender and likely at this point, if the polls are correct, going to be the next president of the United States. So the question is, why now? Why are these prosecutions going on? And all four of the criminal cases seem to be of a bit of a dubious nature. I think that there are legitimate defenses for all of them. The problem for Trump is the amount. I mean, one alone is bad enough, but to have to deal with four criminal cases and a civil fraud trial that's going on in New York is just a lot for anyone to overcome, maybe even for the Donald.
James, there are multiple cases, and it would seem that the timing is rather suspicious, being that they'll get started in an election year. And that is why a lot of people think that they may be politically motivated. What's your answer to that?
Well, my answer to that, and I completely disagree with Vinoo here, is that the timing is a function of the fact that up until January in 2021, he was the president. You can't have it both ways and say, on the one hand, we cannot criminally indict a sitting president, and then on the next hand say, and it's political if you prosecute the same individual after they're out of office. How exactly are you supposed to prosecute January 6, 2021 before it happens? How are you supposed to prosecute a case in Georgia where the president is on a recorded phone call breaking the law before it happens? How are you supposed to prosecute classified documents being taken from the White House to Mar-a-Lago, moved around in his place of residence, which is also a public club or a private club that the public has access to on a regular basis, boxes of classified documents, including some very, very top secret documents out there for really anyone to access, and then say, oh, it's political to prosecute this. It is a lot for anyone to face one case, one criminal case, one civil case. It's an extraordinary amount to face four criminal cases and a civil case. That's a problem of Donald Trump's own creation. And if it seems like those who say these are politically motivated or that the timing is suspicious, were the prosecutors supposed to travel back in time?
Well,
I don't think that would have been.
Could they not have waited until
I
after the election?
Yeah, there's actually, as far as the criminal cases go, there's a simple fix for this issue. Knowing who Donald Trump is, there's never been an individual in American history like Trump with his persona and his personality. What they could have done is entered into an agreement with his lawyers to toll the statute of limitations, meaning that they enter an agreement that says, you know what, you waive any defenses to when we could have brought these charges, and then see what happens with the election. If he loses,
no way,
he's fair game.
In other words,
if he wins,
proposal,
he can jump in, and you're gonna have to wait till he's done.
No.
I mean, I think that all these cases are insufficient on their face, because you have President Biden with documents in his house. You have a number of other people. You also have a situation
that is a specious argument, to be sure.
You also have a number of people.
Hang on, Vinoo. Let's bring James back in.
That's a specious argument in the extreme. He essentially wants a get-out-of-jail-free card while he's the president, and then wants to, Vinoo's suggesting we enter into a deferred prosecution agreement in order to toll the statute of limitations until the 2024 election, 4 years after these cases, essentially the fact pattern predicates take place, and 4 years after the president is no longer in office, nobody in the criminal justice system, nobody is afforded the privileges that Donald Trump has been afforded here. He's 77 years old. Justice delayed would be justice denied. And that's what Vinoo is proposing here.
The integrity of the Department of Justice has been called into question because of the fact that there were no criminal cases against Donald Trump that arose out of the Mueller indictment. You also have a situation where this is with the Durham report, excuse me, showing that an FBI lawyer lied and was convicted.
What you're seeing here, Matt, is an effort at misdirection. We have cases and we have rules of law, and the rules of law are being followed. They'll be presented to juries. And what Vinoo is trying to do here is straight out of the Donald Trump playbook. It's all an effort at distraction.
Okay, forgive me.
You do what he's doing here.
I'm a bit afraid to do this, but let's bring in a third lawyer's opinion. Alan Dershowitz. Now, he accuses Letitia James of selective prosecution in the civil case in New York and says that she must fulfill her promise of getting Trump or she won't get re-elected. So selective prosecution, James, is that what's happening in New York?
No, it's not. This is a civil fraud case involving numbers. The facts in the case are numerical. When you claim you have a 30,000 square foot apartment and you actually have a 10,000 square foot apartment, those are facts. They're verifiable on both ends. The claim is verifiable and the fact is verifiable. Letitia James and the Attorney General's office in New York brings civil fraud claims all the time, and the world doesn't hear about them. Why? Because they don't pay attention to other defendants the way they pay attention to Donald Trump. The reality here is that Donald Trump has been afforded privileges that no criminal defendant is afforded, and yet he still has spokespeople like Alan Dershowitz and proxies like Vinoo who are trying to engage in all manner of distraction when what we have instead is a process that is playing itself out to which this individual facing 91 felony counts is personally responsible for.
Just on the matter of Dershowitz, he says he dislikes him, wouldn't want to vote for him, and wants to see a Democrat come into office, but he says he does want to protect the rule of law and believes it to be selective prosecution because Letitia James could have gone after 1,000 different real estate developers in New York who had inflated the value of their assets. Vinoo, what do you make of the Dershowitz point?
I think you cannot discount, particularly with Letitia James, the political element to this case. Letitia James took out Andrew Cuomo on a lot of Me Too nonsense and did not go after him in terms of the nursing home scandal with the COVID lockdowns that she should have, but instead took him out on a Me Too. And basically her predecessor, one of her predecessors, were also taken out. Schneiderman and Elliot Spitzer were all taken out on sexual allegations. She is going after Trump because she wants to be governor, right? And she thought taking out Cuomo was her way to become governor. It didn't work out for her because she didn't have the political clout. Now she figures who's bigger to take out than Andrew Cuomo? The Donald.